Welcome back to the channel that should really just be called Wesley Does Dumb Things with Perfectly Fine Cars. That's a V12. This is the Porsche cart, or was the Porsche cart, and this video was actually supposed to come out after the free valve Miata build, but it ended up, I ended up having some transmission problems. So here we are. Hope you enjoy. It's so bright out. Alright, so a bunch of people remember this car because it is the V12 Corvette, the V12 73 Corvette that I went to Texas and picked up, and actually got a V12 in there and mounted up, and it has a 6-speed manual, and then I never did anything with it ever again, and that was 2 months ago. So, the reason for that is because I got a kind of cool lead on a different Mercedes V12, one that's a little bit more interesting. So, for those of you unaware, this is the M137, which was a 2-valve per cylinder, naturally aspirated V12, made about 375 horsepower, but it's the smallest and lightest out of the whole entire range of weird Mercedes V12 motors that came in the S600. This one's out of the W220 S600. The cooler engine is the one that was 1 year after this, which was the M275. For those, so this is the M137, which was the same one that was put in the Pagani Huayra. The M275 was a completely different motor, kinda, and twin turbo. And it made, I'm gonna pretend like I know the figure, it's like 650 horsepower and a ridiculous amount of torque. It's an incredible car. It is actually, the full S600 could outpace a 575 Maranello, and it was a cool engine. I have a lead on an M275 because like that was the ultimate goal for this car. Like I always thought the smaller V12 was cool, but the big V12 is way cooler. So I find myself, and I mean it's going to take me a month to get that in. So then I thought, wow, I have a small light V12 that I'm going to have to do something with. That would probably fit, and it doesn't, not even close. I designed this entire back part of this chassis entirely around this M96 3.2, which the M96 platform through all the Porsche lineup on the M96 all bolts up together. The exterior dimensions are almost identical on all of them, and actually that's an M96 car too, but that's a base Boxster. This is a Boxster S, and then the 911 3.6, which was going to go into this, is the same motor, so I could just bolt that in. But that's too easy. I can't do anything normal on this channel. So I think I'm going to take that and put it in this. So I'm going to try to build this entire back half in its own little assembly and then have that adapt onto this. And I'm actually probably going to take it from here and my front wishbones there and there, because this is all pretty strong. I mean, this is strong, but I mean, I built this first, and it was a learning process, so this needs some tweaking, and this will be a perfect example for that. And it's plenty wide enough, and I took a tape measure, and it sort of looks like it's gonna fit the right way. So I'm gonna get to designing this. The huge benefit of all of this is that this is one of the best sounding engines ever made, and I took all of the other stuff off, put individual throttle bodies on, and you better believe that it's just gonna get straight piped out the back just like this one is. So I'm hoping it sounds glorious. Let's get to work. Alright, so getting started here. This is pretty self-contained. I can actually pull this motor in about an hour, hour and a half, but there's one caveat to that. I've never pulled the transmission separate. I've always just pulled the engine and transmission together, and I know you have to unbolt the entire sub-assembly to drop it out, and this actually just lifts off, which is pretty cool. It's going to be a little bit interesting doing all of this with, because I want to keep the transmission and that kind of rear sub-assembly in. I don't think I'm actually going to be able to. But the other part of this is all the wiring and everything, because I have a new wiring harness with the MS3 and everything, so that's all just going to get piled on here. So none of that has to change. I don't even know what I'm going to put this on. Probably the engine stand, I'm probably just going to put this on my poor Harbor Freight floor jack too. That poor thing. So there's one 12-point star on there, and I don't really want to talk about it, so I'm not. Let's get the rest out. I have no idea why I'm getting corrosion there, like rust on the flywheel. So I'm not really sure. At some point, I want to take this engine apart and figure out what's wrong with it. I have a feeling it's the standard M96 bore scoring and just general problems that these motors have. But we got them separated out. Let's just pick this up, put it back. So today I did a few things. I got the transmission and engine like sort of aligned where they need to be, and I made an adapter plate. I made an adapter plate out of a table that I bought at Home Depot for very, very cheap. And it is terrible, and it split actually when I was making it, but it helps me mock it up while the aluminum one gets CNC machined. At this point I'm going to start working on the frame, get everything mocked up. These still say Corvette. They need to say something that's not Corvette. And oil pan is on. The engine's going to actually sit a lot lower. Engine and transmission are going to sit lower than where they are right now, but with this not connected, the full weight of the car's not down on it. So I'm just going to work on getting this rear sub-assembly built up, and then put everything back together and go from there. A few reminders on this. This is one of those twin plug Mercedes motors, so I have 24 spark plugs and 24 spark plug wires, and we'll go over all of that. I have all of that sitting over there in the box, ready to go on. This is where the ABC pump broke off. It is actually a power steering assembly and the ABC pump that attached onto that, and then I took all that off. It was broken in a million pieces long before I ever touched it. So I'm going to build a plate that goes over all of that, and my fuel and stuff comes in on that side, so we'll hook all that up. But the throttle bodies and everything all ready to go. Oil pan is getting close to ready to go, and get all that bolted on. I'm just going to keep stock pan, get motor mounts built in. The ending of this video is probably going to be all the structural stuff and this sitting in the car and all bolted together. And then we'll go over all the electronics and building everything else in a future video, but it shouldn't. Most of the stuff is done. As far as clutch goes, I'm going to use a factory Porsche clutch. There's actually one sitting over there, but I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to use just a spec clutch with the factory flywheel and a little bit of an adapter in there to get between the two, but we'll see how it goes. That's where we're at right now. Alright, now that we got the frame tied in and it's rolling on its own and everything, I think that'll probably do it for this video. Next time we're going to work on pretty much everything else, and it should run by the end of next video, I'm hoping. Get spark plugs in there, get ECU tied in there, get exhaust on, everything like that. Luckily, because the engine was ready to run in the Corvette and the cart was running when I pulled the motor, it's pretty much just combining the two systems instead of designing everything from scratch. So it shouldn't take too long. Famous last words. Other than that, I got to get this all finished welded in here, tweak a few things like that, get the actual plate and clutch assembly put in there and everything like that. So that'll all take a little bit of time as well. And we'll go from there. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments below. That one is a star, but I don't have a star, so I'm gonna use Torx.